The CDF for healthcare costs is given below by the big F. A policy has a deductible of 20. An insurer reimburses the policyholder 100% of the costs between 20 and 120. Healthcare costs above 120 are reimbursed at 50%. Let G be the CDF of reimbursements given that the reimbursement is positive. Find G115. So this is not an ordinary health insurance where we just have a deductible and we are done. So not only do we have a deductible, but then once the cost becomes greater than 120, the reimbursement becomes only 50% for that portion, which is above 120. So, because the costs above the 120 are 50%. So, for example, if the cost is 130, then up to 120, you get the reimbursement minus the deductible. So you will get 100. And then for the extra 10 between the 120 and the 130, you'll get only 5% back. So 50% back. So instead of those getting the full $10 back, you'll get only 5 of those dollars. So the reimbursement would be 105 in that case if the cost was 130. So that's just an example to illustrate. And we are not given any symbol for the reimbursement, so let's call it Y. And we are interested given that the reimbursement is positive. So Y will be positive if X is greater than 20, right? Y is the reimbursement and X is the cost you incur. So the first 20 are not reimbursed because of the deductible. So G of 115 is needed, and G is the CDF of reimbursements given that reimbursement is positive. So therefore G of 115 will be probability Y is less than 115 given that Y is positive. Remember, if we did not have this condition that given that reimbursement is positive, then the G of 115 would just be probability Y is less than 115. But we have that added condition. And now Y positive is the same as X being greater than 20. And now we use the basic conditional formula. A given B, be A and B. So Y less than 115 given X greater than 20 would be Y less than 115 and X greater than 20 divided by probability of the given, which is X greater than 20. So now this is like a strange situation. When you reach this step, you should just have one variable running around. Right now we have Y. So this Y needs to be changed in terms of X. So Y is the reimbursement. So the question is, when is the reimbursement going to be 115? Now, we just saw by the example that I gave that if the loss is 120, if the cost is 120, then the reimbursement will be 100. So it means to have a reimbursement of 115, the cost needs to be greater than 120, because 120 only gives you 100. And we want to see when exactly do we get 115. So after the 120, you are reimbursed only at 50%. So the first 120 pockets you 100 in reimbursement. So for the extra 15 that you need to have an extra cost of 30, because after the 120, the reimbursement is only half. So if the cost is 150 total, extra cost of 30 means 30 more than 120. So we can just now see directly that that's how it should be, because if the cost is 150, then the first 120 give you 100. And then the remaining 30 after the 120 the 150 minus 120, they only get reimbursed at 50%. So this remaining 30 cost will only bring you $15 or whatever the currency is. So 15 for this one, the excess of 120, and 100 for the first 120 will bring you 115. So to summarize, reimbursement will be less than 115 if the cost is less than 150, because 150 cost corresponds to exactly 115 reimbursement according to the conditions. So this y less than 115 will become x less than 150. And then we combine these two, x less than 150 and x greater than 120 means x is between 20 and 150. And here we change the greater than 120 into 1 minus less than equal to 20. And the reason why we change it is that we will work with the CDF, and CDF works in this direction. So the probability x between 20 and 150 would be CDF at 150 minus CDF at 20. And this x less than 20 is just the CDF at 20. And then you substitute the values. The CDF is given 1 minus e to the negative x by 100. That's f of x. So you substitute these values, the 20 and the 150, and we end up with 0.727. That is choice B.